So today is day 4 post-discharge. It's been okay. I have moments when I feel kind of down. I overextended myself on Tuesday and then felt exhausted afterwards. So I have to learn my capacity a little bit more. My window of tolerance, so to speak. I just learned about that today. That's like knowing where your emotions are before you get elevated this high, so that you can stop it in its tracks and do your coping skills. So that, my therapist taught me about that today. I think that's super valuable to know what you're feeling, when you're feeling it, why you're feeling it, and then how you want to respond appropriately to the situation. Spoke to my boss at work, and they're working on some stuff with HR to get me a different position. But if that doesn't work out, I might have to do something else. I don't know. I'm just trying to, I guess, start from scratch and kind of give myself all of the options that could be good for me going forward, and eliminating the stressors and unnecessary triggers that I don't need to be dealing with. That's another reason why the window of tolerance is super important too, because when you have trauma, you are very reactive to situations and you don't even know why you're doing it. Like, you just are reactive. So if you can kind of stop it in its tracks before it gets to that point, then you don't ever get that elevated. You can recognize it before it gets there, and then you can do your coping skills and get yourself back where you need to be. So I'm working on that. Had kind of a down day yesterday, but I got to hang out with one of my really close friends and spend some time with her, and that was amazing. I needed it big time. I think she needed it too. We're just kind of those friends that we can say whatever we want to each other, but we just don't take each other's shit on, which is great. Those are phenomenal friends. There's no strings attached. We just love each other and help each other through our shit, you know, just by being there to hear, to listen, and, you know, maybe give advice when it's asked for, if we even understand what the other one's going through, because sometimes we don't understand somebody else's situation because we've never been in it. So that was really, really nice. I enjoyed that a lot. I watched Finding Dory with her, which was great. I've never seen it before. Yeah, it was nice. Had some grub, chit-chatted for a while. Yeah. I don't know what else to say today. Just try and do a lot of self-care and keep my mind right, take care of myself. So yeah, that's how it's going. It's not bad. I feel a little weird without my group, you know, backing me up and being there every single day, but I am definitely getting a group experience with the ACA stuff, and the codependency group that I'm in. Those have been real helpful in kind of me feeling not, you know, less alone in this situation. Kind of need that right now. I need that extra support. Still haven't heard back from EMDR, so waiting to hear back from them. I'm very anxious about that. Reliving everything so that you can therapeutically be present in the moment while you're reliving it is a scary thing for me, because it's bringing it into the present a bit, and I don't want to overwhelm myself and get myself back into the same type of position I was in before, because I felt so overwhelmed. Definitely the flashbacks are not as intense or as triggering as they were before, So that's good, and I'm hoping that the EMDR will help with that the rest of the way. Had a couple appointments with my trauma therapist this week, and we, talked it out and did a couple more, scales to see, like a anxiety scale and a depression scale, to see if I have had any improvement, and I did, significant improvement, which is great. So I really appreciate that, because it's a measuring tool, to kind of tell you where you were and where you are, and that helps me realize how far I've come, which is very important when you're dealing with things like this, because you feel like you're so in it that you don't see that you've had any growth. So if there's anybody out there that's dealing with these kinds of things, I highly suggest doing a video diary so that you can keep track of you and where your head is and your progress. It will be huge. And if you have any questions about that, you can always message me, or you can look at my videos, because it shows my progression through all of this, and that I was really, really not doing well, and that I've gotten better, or doing better. So I think it's a very good example of what all of this looks like. Yeah. I know my videos are super long, but there's a lot of detail in them and things like that. People don't typically want to sit there through like a 10-minute video or 20-minute video or whatnot. But I feel like the people who need it will watch it and hopefully reach out to me if they need a friend, Definitely had a couple people over the last couple of days that have messaged me some pretty inappropriate things after I set my boundaries, and they decided they wanted to cross them anyway. So they were immediately blocked. My peace is my sanctuary, and I am not going to allow anybody to hurt my peace. So boundaries are a thing. Gotta make them so you know who's in your corner and who's not in your corner, or who needs to learn, how to not deal with you, but how to traverse this whole trauma thing. Sometimes people are worth the extra work, sometimes they're not. And you can determine that, for yourself. I've had to end a 20-year friendship because there was nowhere to go where we were. There was no growth that was going to happen, and so I just ended that friendship. It was painful and it hurt, but I feel really okay with it. And I don't feel weird about saying no anymore, or being in my feelings when I am in them, as long as it's appropriate for me to be in them at the time. Yeah. Been a process, but we're getting there. Can see the light. Yes. Beautiful light. So if there's anybody out there that's struggling with PTSD, CPTSD, trauma, any of that kind of stuff, I'm here. A lot of times you feel like you don't have anybody, and I'm always here for a chat if you need it. Because I had some close friends and stuff, but I felt very alone, because those close friends didn't have the same experience that I've had. And it doesn't have to be the same experience. As far as I'm concerned, trauma's trauma. It doesn't matter how thick it is, how thin it is, it doesn't matter. It's trauma. And it's heavy to the person it's happening to. So it's important to find yourself a good support system to be able to move forward with your life, and do it in peace. Peace is the important part of that. And however you choose to find that, it's not a pretty process. It's a pretty ugly process, but you have to give yourself some grace while you're going through it, because you're learning and you're not perfect, and I think a lot of times as children who are traumatized and things like that, we feel very you know, like we're responsible for a lot of things that we shouldn't have to be responsible for, you know, that we have to people please all the time, that, you know, we have to do all these different things in order to make ourselves fit into the world we live in or the people that surround us. And it's quite freeing to not be that way anymore. It gives me a lot of hope, a lot of hope. Yeah, so that's today in a nutshell.